This is the Team Captains Podcast for Intramural Sports at Florida State University, and I'm Director of Intramural Sports, David Peters. Here with the fine print to participating in intramural sports. It applies to all of our different sports, and it'll help you get your team involved and participate throughout our season, and hopefully make it all the way to the championship game where you can earn the coveted Intramural Sports Championship t-shirt. In fact, in this podcast, we're going to talk about all the different program goals we have here in intramural sports, and they are to get involved and participate. It's probably why you're thinking about participating now. Playing fairly is very important to us. We'll make sure that there is respectful competition too, and that means being sportsmanlike. We'll talk a little bit about safety because we want to make sure that you can play intramural sports overnight and then make sure you can get to class the next day. So safety is important to us, and of course, just having a good time. We realize that it's competitive in intramural sports. We're keeping score for sure, but it's secondary to all these different goals. We want to make sure that everyone's having a good time in our program, being sportsmanlike, playing fairly, and really just being involved in the different activities that we offer here in intramural sports. Well, you got to get your team registered first in order to participate in our league, and in fact, we have a lot of information online to help you do that. Our sports planner has a registration period for each one of our sports, and it's specific, so it's not just a mass period, but about 2 weeks prior to the season, we'll have a week-long registration period. So get online and register, and we recommend the very first day of registration. It's first come, first serve, and our big leagues go quickly. So be sure to check when that registration period starts and the exact time so you can be there and be registered right when that registration period opens. You'll need your team name, some captain's information, a little bit of information about an alternate captain. You'll also select your league division, playing day and time, all of that when you register. When we're full, we have a wait list available, and that's where we take teams where we have some openings and place you into a league. So it's not a total loss if you don't get in, because we do happen to manage to get some of our wait list teams in before the season starts. We open some new leagues that we didn't plan for to make sure that we can try to accommodate as many teams as we have interest in our leagues. Here are the different league types that we have. Men's and women's makes sense. Our open league is actually just no regulation on gender. So you have an all-male team, you can have an all-female team, or any combination. So typically we're just offering one league. It'll be called an open league. But if we have men's and women's, we'll talk about how you have to have a certain gender for these different leagues. It'll make sense. Co-rec has a designated number of males and females on a team. So for example, co-rec flag football is 8 players, and it's 4 males and 4 females on the field at the same time. And so you can see there's a distinct number of each gender on a co-rec team. And then we also have some fraternity and sorority leagues that are restricted to those organizations that are part of the appropriate councils with the Office of Greek Life. We also have divisions available because we want you to be able to pick where you want to play. Maybe you've got a great team of all-stars and a lot of talent. Well, that's what we have Division I for you. It is our most competitive league where all the talented teams are, and then it goes down from there for the less talented teams, if you will. Division II has a mix of intermediate skill level players, some talented players, some not talented players. It's still very competitive. D3, a mix of a few skilled players, but more scrubs. Folks are out there to enjoy themselves and have a good time. And then really, we've even invented Division IV. That's right. Perhaps the no-talent league, if you will. Coming out, having a good time in our league. Division IV is the place for you, where winning is probably secondary to just having a good time with your friends. So all of these options are available for most of our major sports and men's, and you'll see that we have less options available in co-rec, usually just divisions 1 through 3. Our women's league is usually just a single division, but just know you have this choice, and when you register, you're going to pick for your team so that you can play teams that have the same interest level and the same talent level as you do. Now, if you happen to pick too low, perhaps you pick Division III at the start of the year and you're too good, and we find out that you're destroying all the teams in that league, we will bump you up for the playoffs so we can match you up a little bit better towards the end. So we don't allow teams that are awesome to be in our low leagues. In fact, we'll move you into the right league if you don't pick correctly. Now, captains have a responsibility to take a captain's quiz that shows that you know the information that's in this podcast along with rules for the sport which you're playing. And we also expect that you'll share this information with your teammates so that they don't have to go through this process. That's the leadership responsibility of our team captain. So make sure that you continue to watch this podcast. We have a separate podcast on sportsmanship and the sports rules presentation. The online quiz has to be done by a designated day and time. And then, like I said, inform your teammates about just not only the rules, but when that schedule is and when your games are scheduled for the season. Again, here's that information. Please let them know because that is your responsibility as a team captain to inform your players. Now, who can play on your team? Well, eligible students here at Florida State. Any current student this semester can play on sports that are offered this semester in intramural sports. Taking just 1 credit hour is all you need, but those are Florida State University students. Also, faculty and full-time staff. Those are 40-hour week receiving benefits from the university, such as health insurance. They also receive the benefit of being able to play intramural sports. People who are not eligible to play include alumni. Hey, they're gone, it's over, and we don't have enough room to bring in extra people. We have just enough room for Florida State University students who are paying as part of your tuition and fees, actually. Your activity and service fee covers intramural sports, and so that's why it's available for FSU students and none of these folks, including TCC students and FAMU students. They have programs on their own campuses, so they are not eligible to play here. And also part-time staff, not full-time enough, so it's not a benefit. We're trying to reserve those spaces in our leagues for paying Florida State University students. So we encourage you to recruit from that large base. There's 40,000 students here. That should be enough to find a couple to play some intramural sports on your team. So making sure that you have paid fees is important. People who have not paid fees are not eligible, and they'll have to clear up that issue with Student Financial Services because, as I mentioned, activities and services fees, which are allocated by your SGA, fund our FSU Intramural program, and that's what makes it free to play the vast majority of sports we have. Also, students who have been previously ruled ineligible for some reason in intramural sports and they haven't cleared up their issue with us, they are not eligible. You can learn more about that on our website at campusrec.fsu.edu/im. Now, we have certain classifications of players that have some restrictions in our league because we don't run flag football so that the Seminole football players can come over and dominate our league. They have football on their own and they get to play over in the stadium on the weekend. So we have certain groups that are not allowed to play in certain leagues here in intramural sports. Varsity athletes, for example, are prohibited from playing related intramural sports, so no football players in our flag football league, but the football team could play in our basketball league, for example, because that is not football. Current varsity practice squad members, former varsity athletes, and ex-varsity athletes are considered restricted players, and we'll talk about how that affects your team coming up. Also, sport club athletes are limited in their participation in related intramural sports. So sport club athletes on perhaps our men's club volleyball team, they have limitations into how they can play in intramural sports. We don't want the whole club team coming over and playing in intramurals. We don't find that that is fair either. And a player is considered a club member for 12 consecutive months once they have been on a roster or competed in a club practice or contest. You can see the rules there that are covered with our sport club members a little bit more in depth. Now, here are those player limits I was talking about. For teams with 5 or more players, so think 5-on-5 basketball or 7-on-7 soccer or flag football, the maximum number of restricted and limited players. So those are the sport club athletes and some of our varsity practice squad members. The limit is 2 when you have a team that's 5 or more players. In leagues that it's 4 or less, such as 3-on-3 soccer, 3-on-3 basketball, 4-on-4 sand volleyball, the maximum number of restricted and limited players is 1. So again, if you have some of these folks on your team, you'll want to check these rules again on our website. Give us a call or shoot us an email to ask questions. We can help you, but we don't want your team to be ineligible because you have too many of these sorts of players on your league and on your team in the league. Notice that restricted players must participate in the highest competitive division. Now, verifying eligibility is one thing that's the captain's responsibility. Usually they're students, and you can check that on fsu.edu by searching names. You can also just stop by our office. We're more than happy to help out if maybe you've picked up a player on your team that you're not close friends with or not sure if they're a student or not. We can tell you. So come on by and check. We want you to check beforehand because there's certainly penalties that come into place when we find out after the fact because they may have participated illegally. Number of teams for each participant. Well, in most of our full season major sports, you get 2 teams, one being a men's, women's, fraternity or sorority team, and then you could also play on a co-rec team. So if you're going to be on 2 teams, one must be a co-rec team and then one must be in one of these other leagues. You can never play on more than 1 team in the same league. So you couldn't be on a men's Division I team and then a men's Division III team. Like that is not allowed. Just one men's team and then another team can be a co-rec squad. And you also cannot change teams once you've signed in for a particular team in that season. So as you're recruiting players, they're welcome to be on your team and your roster size is unlimited. So in football, you could have 12 people, you could have 20 people on your squad, but once they've signed in for your team, they can't just jump off and switch to someone else's. They're locked into your team for that entire sports season. The next season, they could join somebody else, or the next sport, they could join a different team. Now, gender restrictions are important for us here as well. Please note that for sports with teams of 4 or less players, and when men's and women's leagues are offered in the same sport. So, for example, our flag football league, as I've mentioned, we have men's and women's there. Participants must play in a gender-appropriate league when it's 4 or less. So 4-on-4 flag football, 4-on-4 sand volleyball. If we have a men's league, it'll be all men's teams. No women are allowed to participate on a men's team in those leagues. For sports with 5 or more players, back to the basketball or the 6-on-6 indoor volleyball or soccer, 7-on-7, crossover participants are limited to 30% of the standard number of players required to field a team. So if you're trying to recruit a female, for example, to play in the men's league in volleyball, you would be allowed 1 female on your roster, not on the court, but on the roster. For more information on this, it's more detailed and more outlined on our website. When both leagues are not offered, when we're offering just an open league, then participants may play on any team in that league. There are no gender restrictions. As I mentioned, rosters are unlimited in size, and players officially added to the roster when they sign in at the game site. Nothing you have to do before you get to the game. No roster to submit during registration. In fact, we will make your roster for you as people present their ID at the check-in window before a game. And in fact, you can add players every week. So first week, certainly you want to have the right number of players to play, but if you need some subs in the next week or new players, they can add all the way up until championship day. And that we lock the rosters at 12 noon on the day of the league championships. That even means the playoffs you can add players to your team as long as they're eligible and haven't played for anyone else. But they cannot sign in on game day of the championship. And in fact, we've locked those rosters at 12 noon. So we try to make it easy to play. Just bring your ID out and have your players check in at our check-in window or our sign-in table located in the lobby for Tele Gym Sports, and they'll get right on your team pretty simply. Now, all participants must sign in at every game. There's that information about the sign-in windows, either at the field house at the Rec Sportsplex, so you'll sign in before you go to the fields or before you go to the courts. It's just a stop on your way in. It takes just a couple of seconds with our staff. We'll put you on the team that you request and move you on in to get ready for your game or your match. But again, no sign-in takes place at the fields. And if anyone shows up late, that's all right. They just need to stop at the window and sign in before they run out to the fields to play in your game. Current valid FSU card is required to check in for every game, not just the first game, but every one. So as you're reminding your players what to bring for a particular game or match, make sure they bring their FSU card. That's what's going to get them in. Only the participant's FSU card is accepted. We don't take any other form of identification. So that student card is so very important. Now, there is one forgotten ID pass because we know that on a rare occasion, someone's going to forget their ID. So we offer the forgotten ID pass. Participants will forget their FSU card, or who do that, may request to use their forgotten ID pass at the game site. We do ask for additional personal information on that pass just to verify that that's the person. Each person gets one pass per semester, and it can be used at any campus rec facility, but once it's used once, it's not available for any other campus rec facility. So for example, if someone uses their forgotten ID pass at the Leach Center to get in to work out, then it's not available at Intramural Sports for them to play. And you get one per semester. It'll reset after the fall in January, and after the spring, it'll reset in May. Teams which are participating with eligible players, well, we've got some violations and some penalties for that. We don't want that to happen. If we discover that at the game site, it is a forfeit immediately. It means we stop the game and we award a win to the other team. That also includes failure to produce a valid FSU card upon request of any staff member. That's before, during, or after a game. We may do a halftime ID check, for example, and everyone will need to be able to retrieve their identification and present to our game staff at that time. If they can't do it, that is also a violation. Participating with an eligible player, if we find that out in the office, you can see the penalties for that, including probation. Multiple violations can include possible forfeit and elimination from our league. And please don't let it happen, but in the playoffs, if we find these problems, it's just a forfeit and you're eliminated from the playoffs. Again, we don't want these things to happen, but we have rules just in case we have an ineligible player out there. All right, let's talk about that registration once again. Your successful completion of an online captain's exam confirms your spot in our league for a full team sport, and you want to make sure that you're ready then to field a full team. So if you go through the process of registration, you take that exam, we expect you to have a team for all regular season and tournament games and matches. When you don't, unfortunately, some fines will come into play. If you have some changes, you register. Even if you take the exam and you decide before the deadline, which is 5 p.m. on the last day of the registration period, that your team needs to drop out, you can do that by sending us an email from our website or visiting our office in 1035 Tully Gym, and we can help you out with that. We don't do this over the phone, but just submit something in writing, and we'll help you out with making any sort of change. Now, after that point, after you've taken the exam and the deadline is passed, to cancel your team costs some money, unfortunately, because we're already working to schedule the leagues at that time, and you canceling your team creates problems for everyone, including your opponents who expected to play you in the league. So it's going to cost you some money to drop out of the league after our deadline. It's $10 in our small sports, such as 4-on-4. It's $20 in our larger sports. It's unfortunate, but this hopefully means that you'll be committed to the league, and that's our goal, is to have committed teams playing so we don't have forfeits, so that your opponents show up as well. The fine is assessed to the team captain who completes the online captain's quiz, so you'll see this as part of that quiz, but just know that that's who's going to be assessed this particular fine. We also have a forfeit fine, which means if you don't show up with the right number of players and you can't play your game or match, there's a fine for that too. So it certainly encourages our team captains to be on it. Make sure you have enough players. And if we're 7-on-7 flag football, maybe have a few more. We recommend teams of 10 or 11. That means you have a couple of subs when everybody shows up, or you have a couple of people who are extras just in case some people call at the last minute and tell you that they've got something come up, or they've had something come up and can't make your game. So having extra players on your team is certainly recommended, not only to give you a breather during the game, but make sure you have some extras for the game in case people are not available. All teams that fail to show up or have 2 or less than the required number of players signed in at game time will be assessed a forfeit, and that costs money too to the team captain. $20 $20 in the small sports, $30 in the big ones. All fines are automatic. We bill them first to your Campus Rec account, so you can pay them at the Leach or at the Fitness and Movement Clinic at the front desk there. They can help you with that. If not, if you don't pay those by designated time, we transfer them over to the university account, and Student Financial Services will put that on your account, and for an additional fee, you can pay it online, so you certainly rather pay it with us because it costs a little more once we've transferred it over. And Student Financials will hold your diploma, they will hold your registration until they get their fine. So these are all unfortunate, but that is the way you would certainly pay those. If you have a problem with the fine, maybe you've got a good excuse. We are not cold-hearted in Intramural Sports. We certainly understand when things come up. You have 2 days after a forfeit to let us know why that might have been the case that you forfeited and to ask for a waiver of that forfeit. And you can do that through our website or stop by our office, and we'll be glad to help you. Hey, game time is forfeit time, so make sure people are ready. We encourage them to get there early. There's plenty of room to warm up at the Rec Sportsplex for outdoor sports and plenty of room to meet inside for volleyball or for basketball so that you can get together before a game and potentially also get on the court if a previous match or game ends early, so you can get a couple of layups in perhaps or a little bit of warm up in volleyball. But you have to be ready when game time comes around. So if your game time is at 7 o'clock, make sure that you have enough players that are properly checked in, that you are already at your game site. So once you've checked in, go on out to field number 4 and be standing around ready to go if that's your assigned field, so you can be ready to step on the field and start your game on time and be properly equipped and ready to play. So make sure that the cleats are on and ready to go so we're not having to wait. Timeliness is important to us. We run over 6,000 games a year in Intramural Sports, and that means we like to be on time because once one is late in the evening, that pushes the entire schedule off and inconveniences others throughout the night. So just make sure you're ready when game time comes around. Now, we want to make sure that you're avoiding those fines. You just talked about them, and we don't like having to fine our team captains for cancellations or forfeits. So one thing you can do to avoid forfeit is to get a default, and that is basically a free cancellation of one of your games during the season. So here are a couple ways to do that. Avoid the fines so you don't have to pay. First of all, you need a minimum number of players to start a game, and it varies by sport because 5-on-5 basketball, you only need so many players to play basketball, more to play soccer, for example. To get a default, you need to have one less than the minimum signed in, and 2 or less is a forfeit. So getting up to that 1 or less at game time is important. Here's an example on 7-on-7. The standard number of players on the field at a time in 7-on-7 flag football is 7, but you have to have at least 5 to start a game. So you can play 5-on-7 as long as you have those 5 people there. We'll go ahead and have a game. But if you have 4 players at game time, that's a free default. So you don't have enough to actually play. We won't play that game. It'll go down as a loss, but it won't cost you anything. That is a free default or at the game site. It's a costly forfeit if you have 3 or less in flag football. So again, that's the example for that sport. It varies by sport, but we want to save you money, so making sure you have enough people there, at least 1 less than required number will get you a free default. You get 1 free advanced default per season, and to do that, maybe you know already that your team will not be able to attend its scheduled game coming up next Monday. Maybe everyone has an accounting exam, for example, that night, and so you're just not going to have enough players. But when you know that in advance, you can call ahead and let us know, and we can give you a free advanced default as well. You get one of these. You can call our office, 644-2430. You can email us through our website at campusrec.fsu.edu/im. But you have to do that by 12 noon on the day of the game or match, because we use the afternoon to maybe find another opponent for the person you were supposed to play or notify the team that they won't have a game. Certainly, you just can't call at 6 o'clock and tell us you're not going to be there at 7. That's not enough advance notice. So 12 noon, day of game or match, and we don't work weekends. So if you have a Sunday game or match, you need to call us by Friday at 12 noon so we can use our Friday afternoon, our last work day of the week in the Intramural office, to try to find those teams and to get subbed in for you. So we certainly know that Sundays are a bit of a challenge. It just means extra planning ahead. But as long as you know in advance, give us a call, send us an email, let us know you won't be there, and you get a free default. The team forfeit procedure looks like this. In addition to the forfeit fine, teams with the regular season forfeit need to contact our office by 12 noon the business day, the next business day, to request to stay in the league. So if you forfeit on a Tuesday night, you need to call us by Wednesday morning and just say, hey, whoops, we missed it, but we'd like to stay in the league. We'll keep you in. If not, we're just going to drop you out and replace you with another team that may be on our wait list or rearrange our schedule, because we want games to happen the next week, and we don't want to have holes in the schedule by teams that just don't show up every week. If you opt to stay in and forfeit a second time, and well, we'll just drop you automatically we don't have to call. A second default, so you only get 1 freebie. Once you default again, that results in a cancellation fine of $10 to $20. Again, things we don't want to have happen, we want to let you know that they will if your team captain is not on it. All teams are scheduled for our playoffs, whether you're 0-4, 4-0, or any combination of records in between. We will schedule your team for the playoffs. You can default to tournament contests for free simply by calling our office and letting us know. And again, if you don't show up, though, for a tournament game, it's still going to be that forfeit fine. So make sure that after your regular season is over that you check online during the last week of the regular season for any of our sports, the mini-season and full-season sports, and you'll see the playoff schedule there so you know when you're going to be playing next in the tournament. Now, every now and then, as we talk about gameplay, we do have a chance for a protest. And that means that our officials perhaps have messed up a rule interpretation. Perhaps in basketball, we've arranged to have bonus free throws when they're not supposed to be a bonus free throws per particular foul. Or we've awarded too many yards in a flag football penalty, maybe 10 yards, but it should be just 5 yards. Those are rules problems that you can protest. And a team can protest a misapplied or a misinterpreted rule during a game or a match. Now, judgment calls can't be protested. So out or safe in softball, if we've missed it, we're sorry. Certainly we're trying our best. Our officials who are trained every year to work these sports and are worked with constantly with evaluation throughout the season to become better are working very hard to get those right. So we're not going to overturn a judgment call, but if you have a misapplied rule, we will do that. And to do that, you can protest. The team captain should immediately call a timeout or notify our game official, who will certainly notify our sports supervisors at the facility who will come over and handle this. If you still disagree with how we've handled it at the fields, you can file a formal protest, and with a $10 deposit, we'll review that in our office and make changes as necessary. So just know that judgment calls are not available for protest, but rule interpretations are. Participant safety is important to us. That also includes health insurance, but it is not supplied by Florida State University for anything that you're doing in intramural sports or campus recreation. For most of our incoming students now, health insurance is a requirement, but if you need to fall back on other plans or look to purchase one, we have those available through our Student Health Center and the insurance office there, or you can fall back certainly on a family plan, but health insurance is not supplied by Florida State University for intramural sports. We also encourage personal safety equipment, so if you're looking to potentially wear something that's going to keep you extra safe, we certainly have that available. We have batting helmets, for example, for all of our participants. That's actually a requirement in softball, but we also offer some other things such as catcher's masks at softball that you can check out from us for free at the field house when you're getting ready to play. For more information about participant safety, particularly safety equipment, we have additional information with each one of our sports in the sport rules. Sportsmanship is of the utmost importance to us here in intramural sports because we want that game atmosphere to be good-natured, fun. We realize it is competitive, but that doesn't mean you can't respect your opponent and respect the game officials and make sure that our game is at least played fairly and respectfully throughout. So you'll know more about our sportsmanship by viewing our sportsmanship podcast. It's just that important. It's got its own short podcast. We encourage you to watch that and also look at our sportsmanship guidelines. Both of those are available on our website at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM. But just know that we rate sportsmanship in every game, and your team must have an average of a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale to make it to the postseason and to continue on playing in our league. And we rate everyone on the team, the fans as well that go along with it. It's the game atmosphere, and we want you to make sure that you're doing your part to make sure that it is fair, fun, and respectable out there on the field of competition. A lot of this information we've talked about is going to be part of the captain's exam, so make sure that for those sports that have an exam that you're taking it and you're achieving the required score by the deadline. You can see the deadlines and how to take the exam on our website at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM. Every now and then we're going to have a rain out there at the Rec Sportsplex, or if we're playing somewhere else on campus, such as the varsity sand volleyball courts, or over at the West Side courts, or even at the main campus fields. How do you find out about wet weather and the cancellation of games? Well, a couple of ways you can do that. One, call our rain line. It's 850-645-RAIN. That's 850-645-7246. You can also check Twitter, and our Twitter feed will have the information for those different outdoor facilities. It's at FSU IM Rain Line, or you can check online where we have our Twitter feed displayed as well at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM. So all of these ways are available to you to find out if we're playing games on a particular evening. We tend to update the rain line at about 5:30 in the afternoon for games at 7 o'clock because we like to check the fields because we do get afternoon showers here, and that's not going to just cancel games. Just because it rains at 1 o'clock doesn't mean we're raining out the night. So we encourage you on any day to check the rain line for information. Note that rained out regular season games are generally not rescheduled, but we do reschedule playoff games because we have to get the playoffs in, and we typically do that by 12 noon on the next day. So check online for any reschedule information. And if we rain out regular season games, there are times where we also offer some rain out makeups. You'll get more information on that by email or on our website as well. Quick look at the season calendar for full season sports such as flag football, volleyball, soccer, basketball, or softball. We do play about 4 games or matches over 4 to 5 weeks. On some of our sports, we actually have bye weeks. And on other sports, we may play some double headers, or twice in 1 week. You may get a game. But full season sports generally have 4 regular season games followed by a playoffs. We have a playoff draw meeting each one of these sports, which you can attend online. And to do that, you'll be able to select when your team gets to play in the playoffs. In the regular season, you pick your game and day and time at registration, but in the playoffs, certainly as things shorten up, you need to play on multiple nights in the same week so that we can finish the playoffs. So you'll be able to pick those game days and times on our website through the playoff draw meeting. You'll find out more information about that at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM. Our mini-season sports, just a shorter version of our full season. We usually play about 2 regular season games or 2 weeks of regular season. So in 3-on-3 basketball, for example, you just play double headers for 2 straight weeks. That gets you 4 games. But in kickball, for example, you just play 2 games in 2 weeks. We don't offer a playoff draw meeting in these sports. So after the regular season is over, we just go ahead and schedule you for the postseason, and that is a single elimination tournament. All of our divisions play a different tournament. So if you're in Division I, you'll be playing Division I players. Division III plays Division III teams. They don't mix. So at the end of the tournament, we don't have our D3 play our D2, for example. It's just a separate tournament, and they have separate awards, separate T-shirts, that is. Our Division I teams in men's play our fraternity champion, and our women's league champion will play our sorority champion for some all-campus championships. That occurs on the last night of the playoffs. Teams are responsible for checking their schedules on our website. That's at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM. Both the regular season and the playoff schedules are there. We encourage you to check for special playing days and times. We'll take off holidays, for example, or may shift some things around, so be sure to check your schedule. And all teams, as I mentioned, regardless of win or loss record, as long as you have the right sportsmanship, make it into our playoffs. So congratulations already. As long as you're behaving properly, you don't even have to win a game to make it in and vie for the championship. We assign all teams for the postseason in our major sports based on how you've done in the regular season, and we do, like I said earlier, adjust teams to try to make sure that teams are in the right league based on talent level. So we have a formula for that. We also want to make sure that our playoffs are fairly even across the board. So the Division II playoffs have the same number of teams as our Division III playoffs. Again, it's just kind of an evening out of our different competitive levels as we head into the postseason. And teams are assigned playoff divisions based on these 3 factors: regular season division, so where you started, your winning percentage at the time of the playoff draw meeting, or the scheduling day for non-draw sports, and if you've got any blowout wins or blowout losses, basically. So all of this goes into a formula. We will then order all of our teams and divide you up into playoffs, divisions, and in that case, we'll get you ready for the postseason. But that's kind of how that will work. If you see a team that's too good or too bad for your division, we may not notice it, or maybe it doesn't come through in the formula, so you're welcome to give us an email or give us a call or stop by our office and let us know, hey, this team just absolutely destroys everyone in our league. Make sure they get moved up. We need that kind of information. But we do reserve the right to promote or demote teams to increase the competitiveness of the division. And we said earlier, to make sure people are having fun. We want to make sure that the right teams are in the right division so that everyone can have a good time with people who are of the same talent level. Sport rules presentations are available separately, so know how to play before you get out there for your first game. You can watch those separate podcasts to learn about each one of our sports, and then you can share that information with your teammates, or your teammates can watch too. They're available for free right on our website via YouTube. It's a quick overview of the rules, and you'll see those at campusrec.fsu.edu/IM as well. So that's the website. We've said it over and over again. Team Captain's Guide, regular season schedules, and playoff meeting information, along with those playoff brackets and the sport rules, are all available there at our website. So visit, and you will see more about our program and more about all the things that are coming up in intramural sports and in Campus Rec at Florida State University. For more information, our phone number, once again, is 850-644-2430, and we've got an email form right on our website that goes right to us in our office, and we'll get back to you as fast as we can to answer all of your questions. Good luck this season. Regardless of what sports you're playing, we hope you'll have a good time in intramural sports. For now, I'm Director of Intramural Sports, David Peters. Good luck here at Florida State University in IMs.